Here I am. Welcome. Welcome to another beautiful here and now, vibrant present moment. Welcome to Signal 5, Gate 4 of the Vibrillionaire Convo-Sessions podcast as portal. Not more information to entertain the mind and senses, because you can Google almost anything to find out anything. But yet, how much do you know who you are? This is about a portal, a mirror of presence. So before we begin, let's take a moment to take a breath and recognize what's aware of the breath. Notice the breathing that's already happening. Life is already fully living, alive. And what's aware of the breath? Because our awareness is already here. You need nothing to be aware. And there's nothing that is asking or needs to be added. Let the mind rest, because there's nothing needing to be earned. And there's nothing that you need to do, nor can do, ever, to be more spiritual, more faithful, more here, more alive. You're already that. Say that again and feel that in the core of your being. There's nothing that you need to do or can do to be more of what you already are and always have been and always remain as this. And everything begins from that. I am. Beautiful. Feel that recognition. Feel that truth that doesn't need to be confirmed, that doesn't seek approval, and that doesn't chase validation. It simply rests because it knows what is. It's like this drink of water. I don't need to know what's happening. I don't need to study how water affects my body and how water hydrates the cells and the DNA and all of these different things, although it does. But I don't need to study it for it to do what it already does. Actually, studying it distorts the transmission of the natural flow of what already is. If I study water and I study how it operates and how it functions and how it affects every part of my being, I'm going to be more in the doingness, in the intellectual of trying to be or trying to tell it how to be instead of simply surrendering and witnessing and presencing what already is. And it just happened right now. This water accessed releasing of gas. That's what was the pause. Because this water is not regular water. This water is mimicked of nature's water. And it's designed to detoxify and amplify what already is. That's what water is naturally designed to do. Homeostasis is designed to detox or surrender, let go of what no longer serves, and at the same time amplify, magnify, illuminate, enhance, or unveil what already is. And from those two centers, homeostasis actually is happening. The 0 point field, the samadhi state, the vibrillionaire richness of presence, the kingdom of heaven, 5D consciousness, paradise, Garden of Eden, nirvana, bliss, which others call success, love, health, whatever that is to you. Just like when you go into an MLM, and what do they tell you to focus on? 3 pillars. Those 3 pillars are already simultaneously here. But in the game of humanity, we play all these different games. So, beloved, every generation has believed its noise was truth. Think about it. Every generation thought that for thousands of years, from tribes, from kingdoms, from circles, from empires, from little clubs, little circles, have believed that its own noise was truth. And today, what do we have? We have an inundation of notifications, pings, alarms, alerts, algorithms. Now we have artificial intelligence. We've had social media. And we've had all these different financial perspectives of what is more valuable. Now we have Bitcoin. Now we have Forex. Now we have who knows all these other, that's not our department. And before that, we had politics. And before politics, we had identity. And this came from branding, a sense of like your identity was more valuable than mine. So we branded something more valuable or less valuable than another. And now we see it even in spirituality, in coaching. And we're not putting these things down. We're identifying the different costumes that we've chose to wear, because these are not the problem. The question is, who is listening? Who is listening, beloved? I forgot to put the timer. Who is listening, beloved? Like, take a breath and ask, who is listening? That's not something to study and figure out and try to, master, because there is no master other than the source. We're simply channels, servants, vessels of this one awareness, this one consciousness, this one presence, this one richness, this one aliveness, this one force, this one flow, this one cosmic soup of nothingness that all comes to create everythingness. From this absolute stillness that experiences movement, and this deep silence that is yet empty and full simultaneously. So who is listening? Take a moment to feel that question. Who is listening? Who is aware of the thoughts that are thinking right now? Who is aware of even the thoughts that are thinking, the one that question the thoughts that are thinking of if it's a correct or if it's incorrect, if it's right or it's wrong? Who is that? Who's aware of the sound, the senses, the sensation, the experience of being existence itself? Who's aware of that? Who's listening? Because technology amplifies whatever consciousness is using as it, but yet we worship technology. We're so busy scrolling, searching, seeking, striving for a better tomorrow, and updating our phones and making sure we have the latest widget, um, application. And now we're so focused on if we have the best prompt. Money amplifies whatever heart is holding it. Because what have we been told? Money just magnifies who you are as a character. How you treat people, whether you're resourceless, like less resourcefulness, because there's nobody that's poor. Beloved, you are the very source of life itself. You're the very creme of the creme of existence. No other species in nature can think for itself like you do, as much as we perceive this existence. Every aspect of creation is intelligent and aware and conscious in its own state. An ant works harder than a human, yet you never see them complaining. You never see them taking a day off, because there's a pattern, there's a blueprint, there's a program that it cannot supersede beyond that unless its environment starts to become more aware of itself. All of a sudden, awareness will start to pour into its environment, and all of a sudden, we'll be like, ants are acting different. Just like technology, just like the perceptual existence of what we perceive as money, value, worth, enoughness. Because no matter how much money we make, it's never enough. Because it's not about the money. Where does money come from? People. Without people, there would be no need for money. Money could not even exist. Because before people, value, worth was existence. Humans would use corn for a sense of value, but corn didn't need to be valued in order to exist. Corn simply existed prior to humanity, just like trees existed prior to humanity. Water existed prior to humanity. It didn't need humanity to validate its existence. It simply existed, and that was its value and worth as itself, as existence itself. And now we have artificial intelligence, or AI, which amplifies the questions we ask it. If we didn't prompt it, it wouldn't reflect. And think about this. When we say AI is more advanced than humanity, if humanity didn't use Google, Yahoo, Microsoft, if we didn't use our phones, there would be no AI today. So without humanity, the circuit silicon fiber optic veil of consciousness wouldn't exist. Humanity gave it its existence, or was the channel that it could exist through. But without prompting, it won't do anything. Now, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist, because AI has existed for time immemorial. And what is the most artificial intelligence? Is the one that thought that it could supersede or master over God, source, universe, over nature. Look at humanity thinking it can overpower nature. It can be more advanced than nature, when nature doesn't need humanity's existence for validation. Nature will exist whether humanity is here or not. It doesn't need humanity. But does it fight humanity? Does it judge humanity? Does it overpower humanity? No. supernatural disasters are only because humanity meddles within the harmonics of the nature of the universe itself. Because it's been given that permission to perceive and believe that it's more powerful than its own creation, which is a lie. And what is the outer world constantly asking for attention? We seek, strive, search, and endlessly stress out to get more attention. Whether that's as a parent trying to live within their children, saying that you should do this, you should do that, but really it's us not wanting to face the fact that we didn't get to live our dreams. So now we're using our children to feel enough that when our children are successful, we're going to feel successful. And it's not even them able to follow their own heart. 9 times out of 10, they got to do what I tell them to do because I want them to be what I want them to be. I want them to be a doctor because my dad and my grandpa were doctors. I want them to be in the military because my dad and my grandpa were in the military. And so on and so forth goes the story. So parents seeking attention within their children and not recognizing they're not your child. They're the child of the universe. And they're connected and tuned into the source of creation itself with or without your consent. Now you can assist that or you can hinder that, but what they're called to do and be, you and I cannot stop them from that. We can postpone it, and that's where pressure, that's where pain and suffering manifest. So as parents, we do this to our children. As humans, we do it to ourselves, and then we instill that in others. Because when I'm not willing to face the shadow within the self, then I'll use everybody else so that I don't have to face the shadow. And if I fall for the false illusory of light, then I'm going to worship others thinking that they are better than me because I'm looking for the light in them. That's where you have your gurus and your mentors and your teachers and your coaches. It's a false sense of light. Oh, my coach is better than me. I'll never be like them. Who says? When you embrace who you are, the very source of creation itself, the very source of the universe, the very source of God itself will manifest through you. Because it already is, but you're hindering what is. Beloved, each human is designed and created to access the intelligence, the intuition, the imagination, the insight, the creativity, the channel of the consciousness of life itself. So we keep seeking external attention, and what do? Here we go to the beginning. Who do you listen to? We fall for the noise that someone outside of ourselves knows more truth than we do. And we worship our devices and social media and the news as God. Because when we allow that to affect our consciousness, to be full of fear, to be full of stress, to be full of anxiety, to be full of worry, doubt, and insecurity, and not able to trust the very source of life itself here and now, imagine what the return on investment of that life is. You know, our air conditioner broke down, and I mean, it didn't break down, more clear. It's not cooling as much as it should, as it could be. And it's hot. And last night, Michael went to sleep and full of anxiety, full of like tension, full of angst, tossing and turning because, oh my gosh, it's hot when I turn this way. The body gets full of sweat and hot this way, so I turned this way. And what came through? Wow. So much gratitude that this is temporary. Whenever we manifest another AC, it's done. It's going to be like, oh my gosh, this too shall pass. Whatever you're going through, this too shall pass. Unless You believe that that is your identity, and you'll be stuck in that identity, and maybe things will change in this way or that way. But the very blueprint of that will remain the same. The people will change. The environment will change. The money situation will change. The the external environment of temperature will change. But the one will seem to never change is the one that does not feel enough here. So that's what came. Because Michael remembers when Michael used to toss and turn, not sleeping for hours until he was so exhausted that he would go to sleep and have to wake up an hour or two later to go to work or to get up. And even then, sleeping in until 4 or 5 in the afternoon because the mind just was so exhausted. And of course, doing drugs, methamphetamine, staying up for days because Michael couldn't sleep. So he'd say, what's the point? Let's just stay up. That was torture. And that was a prison that seemed to never able, that there was no light at the end of the tunnel. There was no solution. This is our life. This is what it is. Notice the difference. When last night Michael fell asleep, in that angst, Michael said, wait a minute. This too shall pass. Soon, in some way, shape, or form, we're going to manifest the abundance, or someone can even gift us, hey, here's an AC. Who knows? We're not attached to the outcome because we are sure and guaranteed of the income of self. The outcome will manifest. It's universal law. Principles that are timeless, that are formless, that are changeless, that are solidified in the physical reality, in the mental reality, in the spiritual reality. But beyond that is the income of the awareness of presence itself that is aware of the spiritual dimension, the mental dimensions, the physical dimensions, etc. So presence quietly invites awareness. And that's why we gave that example, that until we stopped and we paused from that anxiety, from that tenseness, from that angst of not being able to sleep because it was too hot. And beloved, it's just getting hotter and hotter and hotter. And why is this? Because we keep robbing the resourcefulness of nature because we refuse to look within. This is not an outer problem. The more we think that it's an outer problem, we blame, what is it? We used to know this word very well. They say the problem with the temperature and the ozone layer and what is it called? Carbon. One of the vice presidents was very into it. I think it was Al Gore. The ecological dilemma. We're not sure, we can't recall what it's called, but it's like where it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter. It's not an outer problem. The solar flares are not the problem. These are reflections collectively of what we refuse to see what's in front of our face. So when we see their presence subtly, quietly, warmly, whispers, invites awareness, we see humanity screams. Humanity convinces when presence reveals. It doesn't force, it doesn't push. But nature is no longer waiting. Nature is now screaming. And that's why it's getting hotter and hotter. And yes, we can blame the data centers, but what does that represent? The dependency on technology as the source of life. And how can we be bold enough to say this? When you worship your technology like God, you scroll, and whether what you see or what you don't see affects your reality, you're depending your life on that device. And before we had the mind, and what do? We created an extension of the mind so that we can ignore what was already becoming aware here. 2012, people started becoming aware. In 2020, people started recognizing, oh, shoot, I haven't sat with myself. When is the last time I sat with myself? So, question. When was the last time you experienced complete silence without reaching for your phone? And don't think Michael doesn't get caught up in the noise, but it's that immediacy of awareness that doesn't allow the hypnotic state to program. Because when you're not aware of that hypnotic state, then you can guarantee that you're falling asleep within the dream, within the dream, within the dream, within the dream. Because before we had the mind, now the mind projected. And even before the mind projected, what did we have? All these belief systems: patriarchy, matriarchy, religion, atheism, looking outside of ourselves, or looking inside of ourselves. And because I do the inner work, I'm better than you. All these different divisions. And now we have TV, radio. We even have internet radio, which we call podcasts. So we get confused. Do we call our thing a podcast or what? Because podcast is really audio. Podcast. But now we have videos that we call podcasts. We have vlogs. We have social media. We have posts. We have stories. We have reels. We have sequences. We have carousels. We have, endless data. And we can Google anything, like we said. We can search anything. And now with the mirror of AI, not even coaches are needed anymore. Counselors are becoming obsolete. Therapists are becoming obsolete. Mentors, coaches are becoming obsolete. And the reason why I point is because I was considered a coach. Michael was considered a coach. But the one thing the technology cannot mirror is presence. So think about this. The more present you become with yourself, the more you're being a part of something that no automation system can duplicate. No external technology can automate presence. They can automate everything else. So when was the last time you sat in silence instead of reaching, screaming, or fighting for your phone? And before the phone, what was it? We would get up out of bed really quickly. When was the last time you sat with yourself? Because the mind is afraid to sit with its own creation. Because, beloved, whether you choose to sit with yourself or not, you're already that. You're just dreaming that you're not. And you're dreaming that you got to do all these little steps and protocols and rituals and performances and breath work and meditation and prayer and fasting and all of this, that you can be a better version of yourself. So therefore, you got to climb up the pyramid to get to the core of enlightenment, of spirituality, of salvation, of truth, of love, of life itself. When that was just the mind's game. And that's why we offer support. Because information will never, ever, ever come close to wisdom. Because how many courses have you done? How many classes have you taken? Whether it's in the Western University education field, whether it's the specialized knowledge, personal development, self-help, coaching, mentorship, get rich quick industry. Because what do? The next course, I'm going to become awakened. The next course, I'm going to be smarter. The next course, I'm going to be richer. The next course, I'm going to find love. The next course, I'm going to be enough. And humanity has more information than ever before. We literally have a etheric, ethernet, internet banquet of a table of everything that we can ask for, everything that we've been searching for at the table. But guess what? When you have a banquet of a table, you have things that you don't like and you have things that you like. You have things that are sweet, things that are sour, things that are spicy, things that are dull and don't have any flavor, things that are more salty, things that are more sweet, things that are more tangy, etc. And that is reality itself. So humanity has all this information like never before. Yet the anxiety continues rising. Loneliness continues to feel more heavy, more real. Distraction feels more in your face because that's what social media and all the algorithms of the platforms and social media outlets that you sign up for, that you enroll, that you invest on a daily basis, they're invested in your attention. And remember, this is not right or wrong. This simply is. The system's designed to keep your attention fixed as a mirror that whatever you invest in, you're going to get more of. The longer that you stay on a video, the more the algorithms are looking for that. You hit that bookmark, you comment, you like, or even you don't like. Actually, when you don't like something, it gets more of the algorithm. Because when you don't like it, it feeds on that attention because what you don't like, you're going to invest more of. Whether what you like, it takes more energy to get you to stay connected, to get you to stay fixated. But when you don't like something, it's easy to stay fixated because it's confirming everything you don't like. But when you like something, what is like? You got to fit in, you got to be worthy enough, now you compare yourself, well, I'm not at that level. But when you don't like something, it's easy to agree. It's easy to agree to disagree. And this is why when you post something, it's like, I don't agree with you. It's easier. Because very few people will comment and say, you know what, I really agree with what you're doing. And I want to share what you're doing. No, because I'm afraid of you taking my clients. I'm afraid of you taking what I've created already. This separation, this division, this scarcity consciousness. And perhaps information was never meant to replace wisdom. Because information fills memory. And what does wisdom do? It transforms perception. So you cannot stay the same when you come in touch with wisdom. You must die to be born again. You must surrender so that you can remember and realize the recognition of what's already here. Knowledge tells us about life, yet presence allows life to know itself through us. There's nothing wrong with information, beloved. The deeper question is, does information deepen presence? Or does it distract from it? Think about that question. Can you remember a moment, beloved? Can you remember a time, a memory, an experience, a moment when you knew something without needing anyone to convince you? And that quietness is a certainty. Where did it come from? Did it come from a book? Did it come from a course? Did it come from a person? No. Where? And something to ponder on, as we can all identify with this because we've all done this as children. Have you ever had an idea where you thought about something, you're like, and then you see a commercial, you see a program, you see something that shows that invention, And especially when someone is making a lot of money off of it, they're like, oh my gosh, I could have created that. And as a child, you say, oh my gosh, I could have created that. And I could have helped so many people. So many people could have benefited from that. Where did that come from? It's a collective consciousness. So when you trust your intuition, when you trust the intuition, you will access a richness that can't even be spoken. And many are accessing this intuition because intuition is not biased. It does not judge. Intuition will show up wherever you are focused on. So, for example, Michael's intuition was to be able to hear someone creep up outside the door that Michael's always been hard of hearing. But Michael would always ask, how is it that we could hear someone outside of the door that was about to kill us, that if we didn't hear that, we'd be dead right now? How is it that we access that level of intelligence, that level of awareness through sound, okay, through environment that Michael normally couldn't hear? But why is it that Michael was able to hear somebody creeping up on the other side of the door? Because that's intuition. But intuition is not going to be just positive and beautiful. Your intuition right now could say, I'm not enough. Why? I'm not worthy. What intuition is that? That's pointing on something to intuitively invite you to question what you think is not enough. See, intuition is not going to judge what you invest in, just like your phone is not going to judge what you focus on. Your phone is going to give you fear-ridden, stress-based information because that's what you're searching for. That's what you're identifying with, and that's what you're investing in. So you could look at your phone like an intuitive mirror of what you're investing in. So when Michael was in drugs and violence and gangs and criminal activity, what was the intuition going to activate? On how to survive, how to stay alive. So, beloved, what is your intuition activating? Because it's not more information that's going to change your intuition. It's going to activate it. It's going to amplify it. It's actually the more you let go, the more you surrender. Because the more you search, you can't access remembrance. You're going to access hypnotic state of programming. So that's our podcast for today. Join us in the party after because we're barely touching on this. And next week, we're going to dive deeper into who do you listen to because we think this is such an important, vital question because who do you listen to opens up the deeper question of who am I? Because who do you listen to invites you to say, wait a minute, if I'm asking who do I listen to, who is it that I'm listening to? And who am I is that question. If you don't ask who you are, beloved, you're always going to fall for everyone telling you who you are. And the mind is using that distraction that whether through phone, through computer, through a screen, through a speaker, or through your mother, your father, your husband, your wife, your children, your boss, the government, etc., is going to program you to believe that you're not enough, that you don't have the resourcefulness inside of you, that your intuition is off, that your heart is closed, that your mind is programmed, and you're going to keep searching on how to escape the matrix. You're going to keep seeking on how to become more spiritual. You're going to keep striving on how to become more faithful, that you're going to feel like a sinner, like a person that's full of toxicity, like a person that's not enough, and it's all the same game. So if you're tired of the noise, beloved, this is an invitation to not just listen to the podcast, but to go into the silence and ask yourself, who is it that you've been investing in? And if you need support, beloved, we're here to walk hand in hand with you. We've been there. And we're not going to say that we're there and we're all, we're awakened, we're enlightened. No, that's not it. We're on this path with you. And we share that frequency that's already awakened, that's already enlightened, that's already alive, aware, awake, here and now. If you would like to do it together, we're here, beloved, and we'll meet you where you're at. Let us know where you're at. and we'll meet you there. And however we can, we'll work with you. Whether that's free community, the group support, or the one-on-one container. We're here, beloved, and we're not going nowhere. So until then, we'll see you next week. Join us on the Vibrillionaire Membership After Party if you're feeling to party this presence of this richness of honoring forgetfulness, celebrating remembrance, to recognize the presence, God, source, universe, life, breath, pulse, existence that's already here, fully alive, always now. Much love.